Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. First half of the show, we had head coach Todd Bowles. Now I am so excited to be joined by running back coach Skip Peete. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And man, congrats on a great win, another win, and 3 game-winning drives in a row now, which basically has not happened in the history of the NFL post-merger to start a season like this, to have these last-second continuing to come from behind drives. What does it say about this offense to be able to pull that off all 3 weeks?
It's interesting because you really don't want it to come down to that, but I mean, it's something that we kind of work on every week. You know, 2-minute situations where you have to come back and win, or we got to come back and score a touchdown, or we got to come back and kick a field goal, whatever the situation is that we got to win the game. We practice those things, so it kind of becomes second nature to our guys, and when they get in that situation, I don't think we necessarily panic. So that was kind of the same. I mean, each week we've had the opportunity. Guys were just, all right, here we go. We got to go down and do this. And I think, it's a whole team atmosphere, It's not just the offense, it's the defense, and it's everything. Special teams come into play as well, because sometimes we got to score a touchdown, sometimes you got to kick a field goal. Yeah,
that one, it was great to see Chase get back in on that, and especially after the blocked one, I felt like that was a really great sign. And I know that in terms of penalties, that was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. You've been in the NFL a long time now. Have you been a part of another game that especially started that way with so many penalties early on?
Probably not that many, but I mean, I've been in games where there's been quite a few called on both teams, and I mean, obviously you got to end up, fighting through it and resolving those situations. We got to get better at that. We can't have that many penalties. I mean, they obviously set you back, put you behind the sticks, and then almost makes it impossible sometimes to get a first down. So we got to clean those up, and I think we will. I mean, obviously it's emphasized daily, so we'll get better at those.
Yeah, and I know that's got to be so challenging then to try to get into a rhythm at that point. What were you kind of trying to work on with your backs, and what was the offense trying to do overall to try to regain some of those yards, and just how challenging it is for your guys to know that suddenly when you're in, 2nd and 20 or 3rd and 16, it's going to make their job a little bit different?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's going to be, you're going to have to throw the ball depending on how much the distance is. Then that kind of limits the running game in that aspect. But I think you understand that if we do get a holding call, we get a penalty or whatever it may be, and it's 1st and 20 or 2nd and 20 or 2nd and 25 or whatever that might be, we got to do the best we can to possibly get half of that on the next play, and then possibly get the rest of it on 3rd down. But or depending on when the penalty happens, if it's 2nd down, then obviously we got to get up another 2nd down to get half of it and hopefully get it on 3rd. But if it's 1st down, you still got 3 downs to try to get it.
So I know that they have some talent on their defensive line. Obviously, we know the Bucs offensive line was having to shuffle every which way to Sunday. Considering those things, what did you feel like was most successful and worked the best in the run game?
I mean, obviously, when you have injuries and you have change up front, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of adjustment because guys got to get used to working together. And that's not just the line with their next mate, whether it's the guard or the tackle or the center. It's also, how does the back adjust to the different techniques and fundamentals of how they are actually double teaming and coming off on the 2nd level. So, I mean, it's a lot of working parts. And I thought we did a good job of that throughout the course of the week. Obviously, guys get an opportunity to work together, understand how each guy operates, and then you got to fit your skill set. And basically, it's our job to kind of help them set 2nd level blocks where they're in position to come off and make those blocks. So I thought, for the most part, I mean, we had the whole week of preparing for it, the game, and with those guys in there. And I think, besides the penalties, I thought it was a pretty good game. Guys were playing for the first time together. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to gel together, and I thought we kind of settled in there as the game got along. And, I mean, there's going to be good plays, there's going to be bad plays. It's going to be like that in every game. But I thought, for the most part, these guys all did a good job working together.
Yeah, I mean, position coaches, you guys have all dealt with times where your own room was pretty depleted. You have to make a lot of adjustments. What has it been like to watch what our offensive line coaches have done these first few weeks of the season, and all the adjustments they've had to make? And then same thing with Josh Grizzard, of here's a first-time play caller who's having to deal with a whole lot of things that I'm sure he wasn't planning on dealing with his first few games out.
No, I mean, it's a lot of adjustments you got to make because, I mean, certain guys run plays differently. Certain guys, can come off of blocks. Certain guys pull differently. So it's a lot of things you got to think about. And then, depending on who you're going against, do we give a certain guy help? So it also includes the backs and protections where, hey, normally you're just checking and getting out. No, you're going to check and possibly help a guy, then get out. So, it kind of adjusts just about every aspect of the passing game as far as protections are concerned. Run games is pretty much as normal goes. It's the guys have to come off, they have to work together up front, and the backs have to run off of how they're blocking. So I thought, as the game went along, you're going to have good plays. You're going to have games, plays that, for us, I think a successful play early in the game is a 3-yard run is a good run. But people in the stands will say, oh, that's not a good run. But you're playing against a fresh defense that's geared up to stop you. And, you got to eventually wear them down. And then those small cracks become big holes. And then you get bigger plays and bigger runs and things of that nature. But, I thought for the most part our offensive line and what those guys did a good job of getting those guys prepared and ready to go. And, we all have to work together because the timing within that whole group and the unit, the line, the tight ends, and the backs all have to work together. So I think we were all pretty much on the same page.
That's great. We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete. Specifically for Bucky and Rachaad, how do you feel like they played in the game?
No, I thought they played well. I thought they played hard. We knew going into the game the schemes were going to be a little bit different, but I thought for the most part they understood exactly, the way the game was going to be basically called and what we anticipated and how we wanted to attack them. So, I thought they took advantage of the opportunities that they had. There was a couple runs that were called back that you would like to have back, but, that happens in every game. So I thought we stayed evenly calm as far as the game was concerned. You get frustrated at times if, you're not making big plays. There are going to be games you're not going to get them. It's going to be a grind out game. Yeah. It's going to be 4, it's going to be 3, it's going to be 2, it might be -1, but you got to keep grinding, you got to keep pushing, and those are the things that I thought we did well yesterday. Even though we had setbacks with penalties or you just had a bad play, we didn't dwell on it, we just continued to play, and then at the end of the day, we knew what we had to do at the very end to, come back and win the game.
I know Bucky, we've talked a lot about the fact that he's just so elusive. And it's funny because, every running back wants to be elusive. Every running back tries to be. Why is he able to do that part of his game so well? Why is he so hard to bring down? And as a coach, why are you if you're trying to evaluate, if you're trying to tell someone else why Bucky is the way he is and that when so many running backs try to be that, what would you say?
Well, I think guys that are like him are unique in a lot of ways. One, he has extremely great vision, so he sees a lot of things and anticipates angles of defenders coming at him where not every guy can do that. So he anticipates the angle of the defender approaching him and then what he has planned for himself as far as making that guy miss. So some guys have to naturally react to what happens. I think he anticipates what's possibly happening based on how the guy plays and by watching film and studying how the guy plays and how he fits certain runs. And I think he takes that to another level because he has natural ability to come to balance, plant, and then accelerate out of that plant a little differently than some people. Some people are extremely elusive but lack speed to get away from people, where he has a knack and a natural ability, and you notice that when you watched him in college have that ability.
It's crazy to think of him now as not being a first-round pick. If you could, if you were to redraft all over again, now that we know who he is, you're like, yeah, teams would 100% have taken him in the first round to see his skill set. What do you think it was about what we knew to see in him to know his potential in the draft and why maybe other teams, weren't sure and just why he was able to be a guy that fell that far but has succeeded so quickly?
Well, I think part of it at the time was, the way the draft was going for running backs because I want to say a couple of years ago, you weren't getting a whole lot of guys drafted in the first round. You weren't getting, those guys that 5, 6, 7 years ago were getting first round picks were now second round, now third round. So it kind of bumped the the running back group down a round where other things as far as size, is he big enough to withstand the punishment at this level? Some guys will knock him down, so it's almost like you look at somebody and say, I like that person, I like the way they play. Does he fit what we do? That's who I want. I mean, the draft is all that.
Yeah.
Certain guys have tremendous college careers, but they may not fit what you do. So you're not high on them, and so they're not high on your list. I think, and I told Bucky this before, I said, the way I've always looked at the draft and looked at players is who do they remind you of and how does he play? And kind of slot him in those areas as far as, well, I remember this guy coming out. He was roughly the same size. He had similar traits to Bucky, and he was a third, or he was a fourth round pick. So they kind of get slotted like that in my mind, but not necessarily as far as, management and scouting and all that stuff. They have a certain tier that they place guys in. But I thought when we looked at them, we had them tiered together.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
We were both on the same page as far as, I think he would fit in this round. And, sometimes guys, get disappointed because of the round they're picked in, but the most important thing is when you get an opportunity to come in and play, the most important thing is you want to showcase what you can do and play.
Yeah, and clearly
the first, second, third, whatever round it is, you got to showcase that you're capable of playing at this level.
Yeah, and he's clearly done that. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. We have running back coach Skip Peete here with us, and we were talking about Bucky going into the break here. What do you think made him so pro-ready so quick, and also just what his work ethic is like? Because I just keep hearing that he's, giving Coach Bowles a run for his money in terms of how early he's getting into the facility every day.
No, he's an early riser, and I think that kind of started when he was at Oregon because they practiced in the morning. So, if you have a 6:30 practice, you kind of have to get there early to get prepared and get ready to practice. So he's had that regiment for, I think, a couple of years now. He does roll in about 5:15 in the morning. He has a regimen of what he does as far as just body prep and mental prep and those things. And, every guy is different. Some guys would rather stay late and do that, but he's early. And, it can work either way. But, that works for him. Some guys, they're not early guys, so they're not going to want to get here extremely early, but they would rather stay late. But I know he gets in, and obviously he gets in the tubs. He gets rubs, and he gets, massages, and then he's studying his playbook and game plan during that time as well. And, it's not just the actual physical part of getting your body right, but it's also your mental. And I think he does a good understanding of knowing what it takes for him to be prepared for each week. And I think he takes total advantage of that. And, each guy's different. Some guys are, quick learners. Some guys aren't as quickly to adapt to what you're trying to explain to them, but they understand what they have to do in order to completely comprehend what you're trying to get accomplished. Mm-hmm. So each guy is different. And when you figure that out, I think it helps you minimize the wasted time that you look at certain things and say, well, I don't really need to do all that in order to make sure I'm on point of what I need to do.
He had such a great year last year, obviously, but what were the things maybe you were still working on with him going into this offseason and this year where you were telling him he could take the next step in?
Well, I think the biggest thing between most young running backs coming from college is half of them don't run the actual plays we run. So they don't utilize the footwork, and you talk about courses, you talk about techniques, they don't utilize that. So you got to train that with them. I think the other thing is the biggest part probably is pass protection, understanding protections. They don't have a whole lot of, as we would call, multiple protections for the back to be utilized and be involved in. And I think he has a pretty good sound understanding of that. But, at Oregon, they had a somewhat of a pro-ish style offense where, they had multiple pass protections, but a lot of times the techniques and stuff that they utilize at college levels are a little bit different than what we do. Some of these guys we go against are pretty serious pass rushers, and you have to use proper techniques, fundamentals. Otherwise, it's probably not going to work. So, and the other thing is, I mean, when you come from college, they don't have an opportunity to study you. Because I told them, the first thing I told them, I said, all right, you had a great year. Now everybody's going to watch you. Everybody's going to study you. They're going to say, well, why did you have success? I go, those simple things that you did all the time last year may not work this year. You may have to be a little bit more disciplined and diligent in setting things up. It's not going to just naturally happen now because they're geared to stop you. You know.
Yeah.
Last year they didn't know who you were. You just showed up on the scene.
Yeah.
You know. So, but I mean, pro football guys are pretty good at trying to take away what you're good at if they study you and know exactly what your traits are. You got to have another club in your bag to kind of give them something to look at.
We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete. So how about the idea now of for Rachaad? I mean, man, his game, especially versus the Texans, you know, gets to jump on that fumble that was so important, gets the game-winning, gets that touchdown run. Just overall, what did his play in that game say about him so far this season and the kind of back he is for this team?
No, I mean, I've always said we needed them both. I think the thing that helps both of them is I think they complement each other because of the drastic different styles that they are. And once you present, I think, different styles and type of backs that they are, they have to adjust to who's in the game, you know. Now, the biggest thing is, you know, I mean, I think guys that are now your short yardage and goal line runner and things of that nature, because right now I think Bucky's average is down, but last year he really didn't handle any of the short yardage and goal line, so he never had to just punch it for one. Then that naturally brings your average down, you know. And I think Rachaad, you know, I mean, he's a good pass protector, he's a good route runner, he's a good runner, but his style's totally different than Bucky, you know. And I think once you install one guy into the game and he has a couple of plays or 4 or 5 plays, then you install another guy in the game and his style is totally different. It's a total different look to the defense. So their response is going to be different. And I think that's the one thing that if you do platoon 2 backs, I mean, if their styles are drastically different, I think it presents a little bit more problem to the defense.
What would you say is Rachaad's biggest strength and then the thing that you are still working on with him?
Rachaad has, you know, I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of flaws. I mean, he's a very talented player. I mean, they both are, and they're unique in their own way. I think the biggest thing between Rachaad that he had to get, I think, out of his game was at times he felt he needed to wait, hold, and then accelerate for the running game. And I think he sees that if I just utilize my footwork and my course and press the line of scrimmage with speed, it's going to be a little bit more effective than if I try to wait to see where the hole is. And I think that's been the biggest change that I've seen in him in about probably halfway through last year. It really changed for him. But I thought he's always been a very solid pass protector and route runner coming out of the backfield. And I mean, capable of, you know, I mean, playing on every down. I mean, I think the one thing that we have the luxury of having between both of them is they're both capable of playing on every down. So that makes it nice. You don't have to be concerned that, all right, it's 3rd down, I got to take that guy out, or, you know, always put another certain guy in there. But, I mean, I think we try to keep them fresh and have them both complement each other and try to, you know, split the time. It may not be totally equal, but we need to have them both in there periodically throughout the course of the game. Otherwise, you know, one of them's going to get a little winded.
Yeah, I've also seen the plays where you have both of them in there, you know, at once in the backfield. And what have you seen about what that can even do, especially for the defenses getting that look and for the offense overall?
No, I mean, I think it complements the offensive scheme that we do, that we're going to be multiple. We're going to show, you know, a lot of different things. But when you don't know who's going to motion out, who's going to carry it, you don't know who's going to motion out, who's going to run a route. So you got to be prepared for both of them now. And I mean, like I said, anything we do to try to stress the defense to get a little bit of an advantage, that's something you try to do as an offensive coach.
All right, we have one more segment coming up here on Buccaneers Total Access. We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. I'm talking to running back coach Skip Peete. So, of course, we've spent a lot of time talking about Bucky and Rachaad, but also Sean Tucker is a guy in your room that has gotten some fun plays, some good looks. And tell me the dynamic he brings to it as well, to be able to, you already talked about those two guys who could be every down backs. It's like you're spoiled in there in that room with so much talent.
We're lucky to have Sean. You know, I mean, he's a unique talent in a certain way that he presents a little bit different look than Bucky and Rachaad because he's probably the fastest back of the group. His body type is a little bit different structure. He's not, as I would say, squatty, but he's a thicker body. He's extremely fast. There's certain plays that we have designed for him that Bucky and Rachaad don't run. So he kind of has his own package, but he's also capable of running every play that we have in the offense. It's just been unfortunate the last couple games that some of those plays and things that haven't been called, and the way the games have been going, sometimes you don't substitute everybody in the game. So I think we have confidence in him. I think he's a good player. It's just that, I mean, he's in a situation to where the two guys in front of him are pretty talented backs and have had a lot of experience playing in games. And it's not saying that, you know, he's not capable. It's just that we're just fortunate to have three pretty good backs.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have for sure. What is the biggest thing you're kind of still working on with him and the strides that he could make to maybe get on the field a little bit more often?
I would say that the biggest thing is just being more consistent in everything that he does. I mean, being consistent in your footwork, being consistent in your route depth, you know, making sure that every time I do get called upon to run a route, that it's at the right depth, that it's, you know, I mean, I think all of them are that way because sometimes even the starters will rush things thinking that if they rush it, they'll get the ball quicker, but that's not always the case. It's got to be completely disciplined in how the play should be designed and how it should be ran. And you want everybody to be able to just go in there and, you know, relax and do their job.
And then I know going into this next week, it's the Eagles game, and you are uniquely familiar with Saquon Barkley, having spent time coaching with the Cowboys as well, facing fellow NFC East opponents there. And, you know, now just having played the Eagles so many times in recent years, just feels like there's a lot of familiarity there for a team that isn't in our division at this point of how often we face them. So tell me about Saquon, and just as a running back coach, what is it like watching him on film, and what makes him so uniquely talented?
Saquon's unique in the way that he's a guy that has extreme size. I mean, he's not a small guy. He's big. He's probably 227, 230, and has extreme speed. So, I mean, that presents a problem because now you got a big, fast guy that's also capable of running routes, catching the ball at the backfield. But if there is a slight crease there, and he hits the hole, it could be a touchdown, you know. And that's, you know, rare and unique in running backs that can just flat out run the defense. And, I mean, that's what he has, and that's the capabilities he has. I mean, I've gone against him a lot because, I mean, when I was first in Dallas, he was in New York, and then now he's in Philly, so I've had a chance to watch him play quite a bit. But, I mean, rare to have a guy that's that big and that fast, but that agile, you know,
that is pretty
presents
crazy.
A problem.
Sounds like a video game the way you're describing it.
No, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I was fortunate, lucky enough to have a guy named Todd Gurley that was like that. I mean, you have a guy that's 6'1", that's 228, 230, that can run routes like a 5'10", 175-pound guy, but also run with power, run through guys, and then also just flat out run you. I mean, with track speed, it's scary.
Yeah,
you know, it's scary.
I know the Eagles have definitely, you know, put a lot into the trenches, and that's an area they really take a lot of pride in. So their defensive line and defensive front overall is always pretty stout. What have you seen and learned about going against their defensive front over the years and the unique challenge they present?
No, they've always had a very talented team. I mean, they've been balanced on offense. They've been very solid on defense. They've always had good, solid defensive linemen. They've had speed guys at linebacker that could run sideline to sideline and make plays. And then they also had guys that were good corners that could cover, talented receivers. And, you know, you had the blend of physical safety that's also capable of playing man-to-man with a tight end or a back. So, I mean, it's always been a challenge to go against that structure of their defense. And, I mean, they have two talented, big, thick guys inside that takes up a lot of space, but then you got edge rushers that are pretty quick. I mean, they're very similar to what our defense is. I mean, you got big guys inside that control the middle, but then you got very agile and quick guys on the edge that you got to be, aware for. So, and then the second level are guys that are, functional defenders as far as playing coverage and, sound guys against the run. I mean, they got a good football team, and, it's going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be challenging like it was last year, but, I mean, I think it'll be two good teams going against each other.
We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete. For you guys facing our defense during training camp and preseason, what are the biggest ways that our defense helped your offense get ready and even helped, Coach Grizzard get ready for that play calling duty and just some of those ways that you feel like this group was uniquely qualified to help set y'all up for success as well?
We probably see more pressure and different looks than any other team would ever facing our defense. They probably give us more headaches than any other team would even face, because they have guys blitzing coming off the bus. I mean, you don't know, who's stunning, you don't know who's coming, you don't know who's dropping, and it kind of messes with your protection core and responsibilities. So they do generate a lot of problems for a defense. I mean, for an offense, and I mean, going against them the whole offseason and then going against them in camp when it's just, offense against defense, I mean, you have to be on your P's and Q's. Otherwise, I mean, you're going to be throwing hot every day, or you're going to be, getting a sack. So, I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on you and prepares you for a lot of things that we would never, ever see, but we've had an opportunity to go against that type of structure that it puts you in a little bit more of a discipline, and your eye discipline it becomes a little bit sharper because you're aware of what we've had to deal with as far as practice is concerned. Now you go against a different opponent, and they do not probably have as much weaponry as we have as far as the blitzes and the different looks that we present teams and just us in practice. That, I'm not saying the games are easy, but you're not worried about certain things because that isn't been in their, play call schemes. So you have an idea of, okay, generally they do this, or they do this, or they do that, and then you can respond and react to it. Where, sometimes with Coach Bowles, you just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's very true. And then I know we talked a little bit about the offensive line. With the fact that they've had so many people out, how much has that affected what you guys have been asked to do in pass protection? Have you had to employ your guys a little bit more for that, or tell them to maybe step up in that way to try to give assistance? Or has it just been, hey, next man up, and we're going to run things the way we want to?
Pretty much we're going to have next man up and running like we're supposed to. Now, you obviously have certain guys that might be an extremely dominant rush in or dominant tackle. I think it doesn't matter who the guy is. You're always saying, okay, now as a back, you may tell them for that week, hey, listen, we're going to go through our eye progression and our projection, and then we're going to peek so-and-so, make sure he's okay. Then we get out in our check down. I think that kind of goes every week, and it just depends on who you're going against.
Right.
But I thought our guys came in and did a good job. I mean, they played hard. I thought they were all working together, and that way, I mean, that's the only thing you can do. I mean, you can't really completely change everything you do throughout the course of a season. I mean, they've been here practicing, they've had an opportunity to practice, and then, everyone's looking for that opportunity and the chance to play. And, those guys have now gotten the chance to play because of injury, and I think they stepped up and, did what they had to do. Now, we got to, cut down on some of these penalties, but, I mean, that's also part of the game.
And then with Coach Grizzard taking over, how nice was it for your guys for there to be sort of that consistency of you have a new coordinator, but it was someone already in the building, getting to keep a lot of things consistent, and then just how maybe his view of the offense is good for your running backs and things that maybe they like about playing under this style of an offense?
I think that's the big, huge deal to keep the same system as long as you can with a group of people, because now everyone has a total understanding of what you're trying to do. They understand the system of why we're doing it and where you are supposed to fit in that system and what your responsibilities are, and then you can play as fast as you can play when you totally understand what you're doing and you're not guessing. And I think, you know, we've been here for 3 years in the same system, even though it's been 3 different guys that had their own little twist on it, but the foundation is all the same. Yep. So I think it's helped everybody from the quarterback to the line to the tight ends to the backs, because you're still hearing it the same way. Some combinations change, but for the most part, you know, 90% of the structure is still the same.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate it on this busy week, and congratulations again on that win.
Well, thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for us on Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio.